Alright, alright. Welcome back everyone, Bloodlust9 here with another World of Tanks video, here to explain to you what marks of excellence are. It is something that only World of Tanks has, because whatever Planes has is just your progress marks, not a mark of excellence. And World of Warships has basically nothing on any of their ships to mark this. It doesn't mark like kill counts of your progress in the ship, or it has nothing for like marks of excellence to see how well you've been doing with the ship. Kind of a downer for World of Warships. Don't know why they still won't add that. Like, add, like, hey, you got additional banners because you're doing so well with the ship. Instead, World of Tanks is the only one that has this attribute, and it has been, so far, very successful for World of Tanks as well. For all aspects of players, free-to-play or whales, like myself. Or those who literally pay to win, aka using a crap ton of gold. And unfortunately, get the third mark of excellence, everyone has to turn to pay to win for that, because it is very hard to get the third one. So what are marks of excellence? It's generally just an achievement that you have achieved in the tanks. For every single tank, tier 5 and up. So only tier 5 and 10 are only allowed to get marks of excellence. And what this achievement is just basically a symbol on your barrel. So the Americans would be a star. Germans will be 3 stripes. Zoom in, it's hard to see in this camera. It'll be 3 stripes. And it varies on several ones. So Italians is... Right, the funniest one is a tank. Normally you see that for a kill count. No, that's the Italian one as a tank. And Japanese is the one that still confuses me. I don't know why. But where's my one? Come on, I know. Oh yeah. So where are you at? Right here. Japanese is a tomahawk. I still haven't looked that up. Why is it the tomahawk? You would think it'd be a katana or a samurai banner. But it's a tomahawk. And it's like, okay. So I still need to look up why it's the tomahawk. And it's something they did for the history of Japan. I gotta look that up. Probably has to do something with the clan wars. But yeah, they all vary differently. Their own unique style, other than France and Britain. Those are both the exact same thing. 2 stripes for the Czechoslovakian, and then France and Britain are both the same. And it's literally just a white stripe. Ooh, did that have to be Lucky Charm? Yeah, I got this camo. It's just a white stripe. Now, depending on how much you have, more will just get added. So, for instance, my Excelsior, which I have 3, there's 3 stripes. Oh god, why is it the white camo? There's 3 stripes. Now, Mark of Excellence 3 is the highest you can achieve. And for a lot of players in here, for both professional and those who are free to play, it's a nice goal to attain that keeps you engaged in playing the game. It is why I love the fact of Mark of Excellence, and why I wish World of Warships had something like that. It would get people to go in and go back to the other tier ships just to try and achieve. Of course, leave it to tier 5 and up, but since they have protected tier, they can actually do all the tiers. Here, now the reason they don't allow tier 4 or lower to be able to achieve the tanks is simply because it's to protect the lower tiers. So that people like myself who are veterans of the game, who know how to play the game, and then not to mention you still have a seal clipper problem in this game, is so that we don't go down here and prevent new players from enjoying the game. So we can't get in this Matilda and just go to town, because Matilda is still one of the best tier 4s in the game, and just go to town just to try and get a third mark of excellence, especially since a lot of people grind or farm on the Matilda, because of that's how powerful it is as a tier 4 tank. When it gets to a tier 5, not so much, but tier 4s. So they did that to protect the lower tiers, which is, I applaud them for that. I like that. I want new players. That's why you never see me play tier 4s or lower. Now, of course, you see me play the Matilda a lot because I've been grinding with my newer friends, if they would ever decide to get back on. Especially with all the changes, I'm surprised they haven't come back on. Few stayed. But yeah, they just need to get back on. He's been gone for a while too. Man, these are the only ones I actually got finished. So that's why you see me play lower tiers, is because I get new recruits in. Other than that, I never touch them. There's no need. The only reason for me to do lower tiers is to get the Ace Tinker badge, which that'll be a different topic. Anyways, before we get off track, let's get back to marks of excellence. So it's a nice goal to attain, and once you get your third mark, you're basically done. So how to achieve the marks of excellence is that you have to reach a certain average damage threshold with each tank, tier 5 and up. So for the first marks of excellence, so the first star on here, you have to have a better average damage of better than 65% of players playing the tank. The second mark, it jumps up to 85%. That's where it really starts to get tricky, especially on various tanks, including tanks that haven't been buffed in years. And then the third marks is the hardest to achieve. And normally, sometimes if I know you're after the third mark, I will forgive you if you're firing nothing but gold. It is very hard to achieve. If you fire nothing but gold because you're willy-nilly, screw you. But if you're achieving your third mark of excellence, I will forgive you for it. I had to do it for this one. And even then, a lot of players, including the professional players that do not need gold to just wipe the field, they still do it because it's just on certain tanks, it's very hard to achieve. For instance, the Eagle 7. The first mark of excellence on any tank is very easy. You just play it every once in a while, do decently well, averaging over 1,000 damage, and you will eventually get it. This 65% is a nice low enough threshold to achieve your first one, and depending on the tank, if it's been heavily played, like the tech tree tanks, such as the M4 Sherman here, if they've been heavily played, it's much easier to get, because then there's a lot of people in that threshold to try and get the first mark. 65% is just, of course, as you can tell, is just above half. It's only 15% more. And that's a huge room for a lot of people to be in the 65% threshold. And again, it depends on the tank. There's not as much as people in the Ram 2, because not a lot of people have it, and they haven't sold this tank in a long time, as compared to the Sherman. Or even the M4 Improved. They sold this before and gave it away for Christmas. So it varies on the tank. There's a lot of people that will have the Thunderbolt. People are now realizing how strong this is, so some people are getting it, and not to mention all veterans get this for free. So there's a lot more now out there for you to get your first mark of excellence. So yeah, it depends on the tank. The rarer the tank, the harder it is to achieve, because that threshold list is small. The more there are, the bigger it is. But that does not mean it's very easy to get the first one, or even the second one. And I'll explain that with a different tank. So yeah. First one, just play the tank, do decently well, and you'll get it. Second one is when it really starts to get a little tricky, depending on the tank. For instance, my T-34, it took me a long, arduously grueling time to get that second star on this thing. This is one of the few tanks that have not been buffed in a long time, is now basically been power cut drastically, and they haven't touched this thing in hell, almost since it came out. They haven't touched this thing. They need to. Increase its DPM, please. And all you have to do is reduce reload speed. That's it, working. That's all you got to do. But because of that, it makes this tank actually hard to get up there, even though the damage threshold would be similar to the Eagle 7. So what I had to do in the Eagle 7, after I got my first mark of excellence, to get the second, I had to average over 2,000 damage a match, just to reach that 85% threshold. So not all of them are 2,000. I can even just get up to 1,800 and still do fine. Because this was at a time when a lot of people had the Eagle 7, but they were either not playing it after the first time, or were not doing very well because it was difficult. Especially when you get to tier 9s. I figured this out quickly, and during tier 7s, I was just steamrolling everyone. But when I got to tier 9s, I was dead. Okay, next game. So that sometimes hurts, especially with the lower tiers. If you get obliterated instantly, and you get 0 damage, that really hurts your chances of getting the higher mark of excellence. But I had to average up to around 2,000 damage just to keep it at a steady pace. So that way, if I do get obliterated in instance against tier 9s, I'm not losing a whole lot of percentage threshold to get the next one. But I did manage to get the second one, and I got that relatively quick and was shocked because I wasn't really after it. And then when I looked to see how far it was to get to 95%, I was like, let me try and see how far it goes. A few matches later, I actually got from 85 to 88% and was like, this is actually pretty achievable just after about 3 or 4 matches. So then I tried pursuing it. And it took a lot longer than anticipated. Because now, to get the third mark of excellence, I had to do an average damage of 2,500 or more just to get a steady increase in damage, in average damage percentage, just to get up to the 95. which did oftentimes result in me using a lot of gold rounds just to achieve it, because a lot of times I ended up against tier 9s. So that's why I say, if you're firing gold, I forgive you for it, because it's sometimes a struggle, especially for those tanks that can go against tanks 2 tiers higher. But yeah, I had to average 2,500 damage just to achieve the 3rd Mark of Excellence. Now, for the T-34, the issue with the T-34 is the damage threshold for me to get the 2nd mark was really identical with the Eagle 7. Average 2,000 damage a match. So why was it a much more harder struggle with T-34? Again, it needs to be buffed. Simple as that. So there are tanks that are far behind, which makes it harder to get, and there are tanks that are just like numerous amounts, so hardly anyone gets. Makes it easier to get the 3rd Mark of Excellence. And then there are tanks that are just powerhouses and just fun to play, and eventually you'll get the 2nd one out of nowhere, and you're just like, hello. And sometimes you get on and play a tank and realize, why do I have a Mark of Excellence on here? I don't remember that. I've had that happen several times. Why is there a yellow stripe on my gun in one of the Swedish tanks? I don't remember getting this. And that will occasionally happen too, because the threshold that players playing will often change. It's usually, they always keep a track for 2 weeks for your mastery badge. If nobody beats the top 1 in 2 weeks, it resets. But damage threshold, it occasionally changes as well. Just for players playing it, the thresholds will change. Just people all of a sudden doing poorly with the tank, or all of a sudden doing extremely well with the tank. One prime example for that is the Russian tier 5 premium tank that everyone first experienced because you get rental battles with it, the Churchill 3. As you see, I got the 1st Mark of Excellence. Hard to tell because of how tiny that is. They get a red star. I got the 65% relatively easy. And then, as I was pursuing up the tier 6, I took a break on the Churchill 3. Only when I was grinding credits did I touch it. And then, of course, there's instances where I didn't even touch the tier 5s anymore because, well, Battle Pass, tier 5s don't count for. So, it eventually caused it to where my damage threshold went from 65 down to 42. I'm just sitting here going, I didn't play this tank in a long time. How'd that drop? It's because a lot of players play the Churchill 3 and they increase the threshold. That will happen a lot, where all of a sudden you're out of it. You're either in it because people did poorly, or you're out of it because people did relatively very well and played it like crazy. That comes to the next part, where some of these are very hard to achieve, and it takes a long time even for just the first one. So I'm going to go with 2 tanks in particular, the Rheinmetall Scorpion G, and then the Tyrian Italian Progetto 46. These 2 tanks make it to where even the 1st Mark of Excellence is sometimes a challenge to get compared to other tanks in the game, because a lot of people play these 2 tanks. The Rheinmetall Scorpion and Scorpion G are the 2 most sold tanks out of any other tank in the game. They are the most sold tanks. And now we have the Progetto 46 being up there as one of the most sold medium tanks. And even then, the Russian Tier 8 SU-130PM is also reaching up there because of just how well they are. These things are powerhouse sniping tanks, easy to use, and oh boy, do they give you a lot of credits because they can actually shoot and go against Tier 10s. This Scorpion G, I think, made me the most money out of any other tank. And I did play the Patriot and T-34 more often. This made me the most. So, because of that, there's a whole lot of them in the game. And it's not like where everyone's getting them and they're doing poorly. These are very powerful tanks where even those, for even rookie players to get and just creme de la creme get 3,000 damage all of a sudden. It's like, whoa! And realize how powerful this thing is. So that makes the threshold of even getting the first one much harder to achieve for these tanks. It took me well over 120 matches just to get the first one on the Progetto 46. And I actually did try. I tried very hard just to get the first one. I'm like, it's the 1st Mark of Excellence. How is it that hard to achieve? The damage threshold on them is now increased so high. A lot of experienced players are using it because it's just, again, a powerhouse, very awesome tank to have. So it made it even harder for me to get the 1st Mark of Excellence. And I'm not the only one struggling with it too. Thankfully, it's still above 65%. But just to get that 2nd one, I have to average So if the Eagle 7 was 2,000 damage, this one I have to average almost 3,000 damage just to get the second Mark of Excellence. Because the damage threshold is that much higher. A lot of people are still using this and are doing extremely well with it. Even veteran pro players, because it's a fun, powerful tank. So that's another one of the issues on some of these tanks, that why it makes it so hard. And then there are those where it's just all of a sudden just downright way too easy to achieve. Such as the tier 5 heavy tank Excelsior. So yes, I have 3, as I showed you earlier, I have 3 marks on here. And it literally only took me about 34 matches. That's it. 34 to achieve all 3 marks of excellence on this. I got it so fast. I just played this thing, and it was my 5th match, and it says, here's your first mark of excellence. And I was just like, what the? You gotta be kidding me. And the reason why is because those first 5 matches, I averaged over 2,000 damage in. Seriously, I just averaged over 2,000 damage because I finally got it and just ran around with it. And being an experienced player, I knew all the tier 5s at the time. I knew where all the weaknesses were, and I avoided the KV-1 because that was always a pain to get without firing gold. So I avoided tanks like the KV-1 or the OI Experimental, but other tanks, I was able to do it. Like I fought T-14s, I know exactly where the T-14's weak spot is, so I kept shooting it. And eventually ended up to where I had nothing but gold left, and then I just went to town everywhere else, because the gold rounds were at least decent. So I got the first mark of excellence, and I just continued playing the Excelsior, and by the 15th or 16th match, there's the second one. I was like, you're joking. 2 mark of excellence. 2. In just like 15 or 16 matches. I don't remember exactly when. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. So then I started pursuing, see if I can get that third one because of how fast I got those. And there were some instances where I got obliterated. This is a preferential tank. You don't face tier 7s in this, but I did get obliterated by tier 6, which, like, especially the OI and KV2, because those days they were, the HE on them were just ungodly. Popped up KV2, boom, 0 damage, haha, setback, okie dokie. But considering how easy it wasn't much of a setback. And eventually, 34 to 37 matches, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly when. Right around there, there's the third mark of excellence, and I was just like, you're joking. That was fast. Now I'm up to 75 matches in this because I occasionally go back and play it, but my threshold is now lower because I'm way too laxed on it now. So, where was I at? Again, to the point that some tanks, like the Excelsior, so many people have it, but they're not doing very well with it. That's how I got the third mark very quickly. So to anyone, especially those who are experienced players, just wanting to get 3 marks on all your tanks, if you want an easy one out the way, the Excelsior is the one that's easiest to get out the way. It may not be 34 to 37 matches now, could be up to 50, but it's still pretty quick and pretty short. Unless you average 2,000 damage almost every single match you play with this thing. It's the easiest to get. But now, going to another topic, continuing with Mark of Excellence, how I said my threshold on this tank has now dropped. So what I normally do is I go over here to my stats, go to the vehicles, and then you can go to rewards. And this shows you the Mark of Excellence tab, and it shows you what your current damage ratio is to the tank. This is another example. But I'm going to go down to the Excelsior just to show you because I was explaining it. There it is. So on here, this gives you the information exactly how to get Marks of Excellence. Players' average damage is updated after each battle. Only the recent 100 most recent battles in the tank will be accounted for it. So it's nice if you've done over 100 matches and you're struggling to it, you better hope eventually you'll get one. If you've done well, you'll eventually get one of the ones of most 100 recent that was a 0 damage and knock it out and increase your damage threshold average. That's one I've been trying to pursue on one of the tanks and hopefully did with T-34, and that's what finally got me. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the reasons how I finally got the second mark on my American T-34, was one of the 0 damage matches was finally eliminated. And that has happened a lot. I popped up, Jagdpan 0100. Hi! Bye! Okay. Next match. Obtained marks do not disappear even if the player's average damage decreases. That was where I wanted to get at. So yeah, as you can see, I'm at an 80% current ratio with the Excelsior. A lot more people have been playing it and doing a lot better. But because I finally got the third mark and got over 95%, it doesn't matter after that, you never lose it. Which is nice, because once you get the third mark, then you're just like, okay, you back off, You ease off the tank, and then next time you play it, you just play it to have fun. You're not being serious anymore. You're just like, I'm just having fun. I finally achieved the goal. And here I am with 3 marks of excellence, and you're doing bragging rights at that point. Marks can be obtained in vehicles of tiers 5 through 10 only. That is a beautiful point that World of Tanks have done just to protect the lower tier, so that you don't have experienced players like myself going back to like the Matilda and just preventing newer players from playing the game because I just want that 3rd mark of excellence. That is a good thing on their part. Display of marks. Now, for those of you who do not like seeing these, you can disable them. So that's one thing. You can just disable them. It's like, I don't like these. Goodbye. I don't want to see them. Just disable them. And you don't care about it anymore. But I'm telling you, with the marks of excellence, that's one thing a lot of players, both free to play and pay to play, just whales. Pay to play. No, that's not that. It's about to soon. I hope to God they fix that. But for all players of everywhere, for those who pay in the game or those who don't, it's a nice goal to have to just makes you come back to play and achieve. That's why I like Marks of Excellence. That's why I wish World of Warships has something like that. A goal. Something that they've been missing. They don't even have ace badges. This is going to be a different topic. They don't even have ace badges. That's why I wish World of Warships had those things, like mastery badges and some form of like progress of like saying this is what your average damage is, or, you know, something to keep track of it instead of just going to stats. Something to show on your ship. Like additional banners, like you've done 65% better than other players in the ship. Here's your first banner. Something like that. Now, the only thing about this too is that random battles and grand battles do count. They're still in beta. Random battles are the only matches that you can achieve marks of excellence. Just to be fair for everything else. Now, that does hurt in a way, but understandably why? Because ranked battles, only tier 10s can get in ranked battles. So that is why my Kranvan doesn't even have a mark of excellence yet. Doesn't have a mark of excellence yet. Which is kind of sad, because I played this heavily in the last 3 ranked seasons. 3! Which the last one was terrible, that's why we didn't get a new one. But with me playing this like crazy in ranked battles, and averaging over 3,000 damage, I do not have a single mark of excellence, because it does not count. In fact, let's see where I'm at with this vehicle now. It should be pretty close to the first one, but I'm still not playing. I haven't been playing it a whole lot. Yeah, 62.9. 63%. Very close to the first marks of excellence. I just haven't been playing it a whole lot. Not because they nerfed it. No, I just haven't been playing high tier. I've been grinding credits to get all the tech trees back. But now that I'm at the point, even this one, now that I'm at the point where I just play whatever I want, I'll eventually get it. Still don't know how I haven't aced it yet. So yeah, it just depends how average time you play the tank and how well you do to get your first marks of excellence. I actually do not have a lot of Swedish tanks with it. The Emil 1951 has it. It's hard to see. It's this yellow stripe right here on this camo. The Emil 1 has it. Right there. And I don't think I have another one with it. No, I don't. Ooh, that one doesn't have it. Wow, I really have not been playing a whole lot of my Swedish tanks. I need to do that. I only got 2 of them marked of excellence on them. Yowzers. That's sad. But yeah, it's an additional goal that I do, that I like doing. Keeps me in the game. And again, once you get it, it's achievable. You're just like, yeah, excellent. You feel good. You feel accomplished. You did something. Then when you get that 3rd mark, you just go around bragging rights. Look at me, I'm green. And then get a one-shotted by an FE 4005. But it's nice to have. It's something I wish that that World of Warships had. Yes, my golden tank. I finally got one. I wish this was unique and was a silver star. Oh, cool. Silver and gold. So, yeah. That's the gist of it with marks of excellence. Do well in the tank. Average better than most people with the damage threshold. 65% gets you the first mark. 85% gets you the second mark. And 95 gets you the 3rd mark. So I think that covers everything about them. So let me know, for those of you who are playing this, how much Marks of Excellence you have, if this is a goal that you're achieving. If not, no worries, there's other things to do in here. Well, let me know if that's a goal that you would like to do in the game, is to get Marks of Excellence on these tanks. And just to have, do you like it to have bragging rights? Do you like it as an achievable goal? Let me know down in the comments what you think about that. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hate it, which you most likely will due to my monotone voice, give it a thumbs down. And hit that subscribe button to follow to find out more videos of this, as I'm probably going to be doing more instructional videos like this one about what they are in the game. And World of Warships, if you watch this, please add something like this in your game. I would love that. I'm Bloodless Knight. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I hope to see you all on the battlefield. Bye-bye.